what are your advisors telling you about the Ayatollah's son, the new supreme leader?
A lot of people are saying that he's badly disfigured. They're saying that he lost his leg, the one leg, and he's been hurt very badly. Other people are saying he's dead. Nobody's saying he's 100% healthy. This one we haven't seen at all. So that could be for a lot of different reasons.
That's President Trump yesterday on Iran's new supreme leader, the Khamenei's son, who's not been seen in public since Khamenei was killed by U.S.-Israeli strikes back in February. This morning we are learning breaking news: Iran's security chief, who General Jack Keane told me earlier was effectively running the country for the last 18 months, well, he was killed overnight by an IDF airstrike. Here's the general with me earlier.
Yeah, this is really quite significant. Larijani, not well known, has been running the country for the last 18 months, day in and day out. He has subsumed the power of the presidency. When the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, was alive, he designated him to run the country on an interim basis. Apparently, he's been running it for sure since the Ayatollah died, despite the fact that his son has been appointed Mojtaba, as his successor. So this is the most significant leadership impact of the war since the Ayatollah was killed on day one of the war. It is a huge deal here. And from what I understand, other leaders were also killed.
Joining me now is the Chief of Staff for His Royal Highness Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, Khansarinia. Cameron, thanks very much for being here this morning. What is your reaction to the head of security in Iran being eliminated overnight?
Well, Maria, it's very good to be with you. General Keane was exactly right. Larijani played a critical role in holding up this criminal regime. Not only had he been running many affairs of state for the past several months, he was personally responsible for the crackdown that took place in response to Prince Reza Pahlavi's call to Iranians to take to the streets January 8th and 9th. Khamenei, Larijani, and other figures of this regime ordered a crackdown in which, according to President Trump, more than 32,000 innocent and peaceful protesters were slaughtered. So the fact that this mass murder has been eliminated, the fact that he can no longer kill innocent Iranians, the fact that he can no longer order terrorist attacks on American civilians, on Israelis, and innocent people around the world is certainly good news. It's good news for the Iranian people, who are becoming increasingly empowered to take down not only Khamenei and Larijani, but this entire criminal establishment that has taken the nation hostage. And it was President Trump's leadership and decisive action that allowed us to get to this point. Yeah, I mean, but Cameron, the Wall Street Journal this morning is reporting that Iran has unleashed a new crackdown on its people to head off uprising. What is your sense of what's going on the ground today? We know that the military and infrastructure has been largely degraded by the U.S. and Israeli strikes, and yet Iran, according to the Journal, unleashes this new crackdown on people, even if we are looking at a leadership vacuum. What can you tell us? That's right, Maria. What I can tell you is that from what we're hearing from people on the ground, from the sources who reach out to us and who share information with the prince from within the state establishment, from activists on the ground, is that people are preparing at the right moment to go back to the streets. The prince has told them that he will issue the final call to take to the streets, to take down this regime when the time is right. As of now, people are continuing to prepare themselves, to get ready, allowing the strikes by the United States armed forces, by the Israelis, to continue to decimate the regime's repressive capacity, because the only thing that is holding people back from taking down this regime is the continued presence of the regime's thugs on the streets. That's why in the past several days, American and Israeli strikes on the regime's Basij, on the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, that are holding people hostage, that are threatening them at gunpoint, slaughtering people in the streets, is so critical. So when when you see these IRGC and Basij checkpoints being targeted, that's giving further and further hope and empowerment to the Iranian people. It's greater evening the playing field so that they have a fair chance. President Trump was speaking yesterday and said exactly right that the people of Iran are extremely brave, but they're not stupid. They're going to go back into the streets at the right time when the regime's repressive forces have been weakened, when the prince calls them to the streets. So that's what's happening right now. That's why the continued targeting of these repressive forces is so critical, so that at the end, the Iranian people can finish the job.
And of course, the former crown prince has told me that he's ready to step in and lead the country as soon as the regime falls, further working on his transition plan to ensure that Iran does not experience too much disruption in governance. I want to get your take on that. He joined me just a few days before the beginning of Operation Epic Fury. Watch this.
The first phase is focused on the immediate. What do we need to do in the first 100 days post-regime collapse? Look, we anticipate that as a result of a fundamental change in Iran, this would probably represent an over $1 trillion worth of revenue to the American market in the span of the first 10, 15 years, should things change. And there are a lot of Iranian Americans that are representative of various companies from Silicon Valley to other places who are willing to immediately step in and invest billions of dollars into the Iranian economy, and all of that will bring about a very prosperous future for the Iranian people, but also, I think, in the best interest of America. The Iranian people are our true allies and partners. That should be the horse we bet on from now on.
So, Cameron, are you in touch with moderates on the ground in Iran right now in terms of a coalition? And do you believe the Crown Prince has the majority support from the Iranian people?
Maria, the Crown Prince absolutely has the majority support of the Iranian people. That's been proven time and time again on the streets when, at his call, millions of Iranians took to the streets in every single one of Iran's 31 provinces, chanting his name, calling on his return, calling for his leadership of the transition to the ballot box, to a true secular democratic system, which has always been his mission in life. And of course, he's in touch with Iranians across the country and across the world. I'll give you a few examples. Just yesterday, Maria, the Prince announced the formation of a transitional justice commission to investigate the crimes of this regime and to ensure justice after the fall of the Islamic Republic for the perpetrators of the crimes against the Iranian people. Right. He nominated and chose Shirin Ebadi, Iranian Nobel Prize winner, to chair that commission, along with a commission of Iranian attorneys and activists who will lead that process at his direction under his leadership. He's in touch with forces within the country, including within the state bureaucracy, who at the right moment are ready to pull away from this regime and to ensure a stable transition. The Prince is really the one person who can unite Iranian society, from the armed forces, from the bureaucracy, to the business community abroad, and ensure stability going forward. And I think that's what the entire world is looking for. Absolutely. After 47 years of terror, for stability and peace, and that's what he brings.
And I understand that, Cameron, and I feel like this thing would be over at this point if it weren't for the Iranians keeping a hold on the Strait of Hormuz. And the fact that they are bullying tankers from coming through the straits. People are afraid of drones. What is your advice? What is your best advice to loosen up the Strait of Hormuz right now?
Well, look, Maria, you're exactly right, and you know this better than so many other people. The Islamic Republic, its first and foremost tactic has always been hostage-taking, from taking hostages at the American embassy in 1979, from taking now the Strait of Hormuz hostage, taking the Iranian people hostage for 47 years. The only way that we're going to finally end this is for this regime to be relegated to the ash heap of history where it belongs. Because when this regime is gone, the Strait of Hormuz will no longer be symbolic of crisis and holding oil production hostage. It'll be symbolic of a new region. That's exactly what the Prince's Iran Prosperity Project advocates, is Iran re-entering the Middle East, re-entering the community of nations to bring peace and prosperity. So the advice, only advice I can have, is for President Trump to continue his policies. He has really made history in holding this regime to account. He's been the first and only president willing to do that. It's to stay the course, continued his disciplined leadership. The people of Iran support what he's doing and are thankful for his support and leadership.
Cameron, I know it's the advent of the Persian New Year and perhaps a potential time for change. So I wish you and all who celebrate a happy Nowruz. Thank you very much, Cameron.
Thank you, Maria. Maybe your next interview with the prince will be from Iran.
Okay, I hope so, because I know he hasn't been there in almost 50 years, right?
Yeah, we're working on getting him back.
Cameron, thank you. Cameron Khansarinia joining us. We'll be right back.